For radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning, South Florida. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show, where we bring you the best of the best experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Hey, we welcome the people who've been listening in Florida to our money management show. We want to thank you for joining our second half of the show. We do estate planning. It's so important in the South Florida area that not only do we do one live show a month, but we do 2 live shows a month. So we will have another live show with Rosenberg Law Firm in 2 weeks. We want to welcome Andrew Rosenberg. Good morning, Andrew.
Hey, good morning, Steve-O. How are you? Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Oh, yeah. Listen, I was a little concerned last night. We actually lost electricity last night. And I'm going, it's a little difficult to do our show with no electricity.
Well, down in South Florida, we're in a drought, so it was nice to get some rain coming.
Oh, exactly. And I want people to know, if you're watching on YouTube, that we are scrolling right now. Andrew does some workshops. But Andrew, we have so many people who listen on iHeart and Spotify that aren't seeing the scroll right now. Tell people about your upcoming workshops.
Yeah. So I have 2 upcoming workshops coming up. The first one's actually going to be tomorrow at 5:30 at Total Wine in Coral Springs, Florida. And the location is the 2564 North University Drive in Coral Springs, Florida, 33065. Again, it's at 5:30. And it's going to be on estate planning essentials. And it's about an hour and a half total workshop. And it's a very much informative and question and answer format. I like to make sure that people learn something at my workshops. And then we have another one, same topic, by the way, 2 weeks later on March 21st at Total Wine, but this one's in Pembroke Pines, which is at 15980 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines, 33027. So we got tomorrow in Coral Springs, and we got the 21st at Pembroke Pines.
Andy, where do they go once they come into Total Wines? Where's your actual workshop?
Yeah. So the reason I picked the particular Total Wines in Coral Springs and Pembroke Pines is there's only a few locations that actually have private rooms. And so if you ask for the private room, they'll point you to the direction when you walk in. And then that's where we do the workshop. It's also where we do some wine tasting at our events and have a little bit of food. So we get a little bit snookered and we get to listen at the same time.
Nice. Andrew, tell people about your firm. You do estate planning, and I got to add this because you also do elder law. We seem like we're getting a lot of questions. People are getting educated about elder law and how important it is. So tell people about your firm.
Yeah, so the firm is obviously Andrew G. Rosenberg, PA, or Rosenberg Law Firm, and we're located in Coral Springs. And we do wills, trust, estate planning, and probate, as well as elder law. So my job, and I've been doing this for 30 plus years, is to try and make sure that we keep people out of probate court when they do pass away and make sure things go very smoothly to wherever they want it to go. So that's the estate planning side. And it's not just about dying. It's about, obviously, if you become disabled or incapacitated, healthcare issues, all sorts of things that you have to deal with estate planning. And then on the other side, Steve-O, there's this area called elder care or elder law planning. And I like to talk about that. That's more of the scenario where, God forbid, you have to go into an assisted living or a nursing home and you don't have the proper insurances in place, and your income and your assets have to pay for all of this healthcare needs, until unfortunately what happens is that your income and your assets dwindle to next to nothing. Once you get down to next to nothing, then Medicaid will kick in and start to pay for this stuff. But what we try and do in the elder care arena is we try and protect your income and we try and protect your assets so it doesn't have to get down to nothing. And that's the difference. So luckily in Florida, there are ways and legal ways that we can protect things overnight, almost technically not quite overnight, but very quickly, to get people qualified for that situation if they don't have the proper insurances in place. So there's the estate planning side, and then there's the elder law planning side of the firm.
And long-term care has gotten so expensive.
That's the problem. I mean, it's really gotten horrible. In fact, I'm 57 and I've been searching for long-term care insurance for me at my age, and I couldn't qualify, Steve-O, because I've had a heart attack in the past and I'm pre-diabetic. They don't really care about you. If you have anything wrong with you, you're never going to qualify.
Yes.
It's unbelievable. So there's other ways to get long-term care insurance if you know what you're doing. And because of the expense, it's kind of interesting, Steve-O, because of the problem with long-term care insurance, at least what we've seen over the past 10 to 20 years, is if you have, and I've seen it with my in-laws, by the way, is if you have long-term care insurance in place, which is wonderful, you should have it if you can. Most people don't. But if you do have it in place, what we've seen happen is that these premiums keep going up year after year after year. And it gets to be a point where my in-laws say, well, I don't know if I should continue with this. What do I do? And thank God I told them to continue because they have some health issues. So one way to combat that, and I'm not an insurance guy, but I'll tell you what one way to deal with it, and what I did, was that you can get life insurance now, and they have long-term care riders on there so that you can use the life insurance as a long-term care benefit. And guess what? The premiums don't go up. Once you lock in, your premiums are going to stay set. So people out there, if you're looking to get long-term care insurance, there's two options. The normal long-term care insurance coverage that everybody thinks about, but now these life insurance companies have really come out with some wonderful vehicles where you can get life insurance, but it also acts as a long-term care vehicle if you ever need long-term care insurance.
Andrew, I got to tell you, we've got some incredible listeners. We actually got 5 text messages after your last show, people wondering about your health, people very concerned about your health. What has happened since our last show?
So I think we spoke last time about my kidney stones?
Yes.
So that was brutal, Steve.
But you were also going in for a stent, or have it removed.
Yes, a stent not a heart stent. I've had that, by the way, in the past, 9 years ago. Yeah, so I had to have surgery, emergency surgery for my kidney stone, and it was brutal. I was in so much pain, Steve-O, when I got to the hospital, I couldn't even speak. And here's something that's important, and I'll tell everyone how I'm doing health-wise, but this is about estate planning, and this is why it's so important to have. So I live in Weston, Florida, and the major hospital here is Cleveland Clinic, a wonderful hospital here. So I knew many years ago, if something were to happen to me, that more likely than not, I'm going to go to Cleveland Clinic Hospital if I'm in an emergency situation. So many years ago, I contacted Cleveland Clinic. I said, listen, I said, if something happens to me, I said, I'm going to probably come here. Will you hold on to my healthcare surrogate and to my living will and HIPAA and have it on file? And just so you know, for the audience, let's explain what those are. So the healthcare surrogate is what happens if I'm unable to communicate for myself and make healthcare decisions. Who am I going to appoint to stand in my shoes. So that's the healthcare surrogate. The living will is also called the dying with dignity document, or the pull the plug document, or if you're old enough, Steve-O, if you remember the Terry Schiavo Supreme Court case.
Yo, absolutely.
So that's what that document's about. And you're deciding while you're of sound mind now whether, God forbid, if you ever put on life support, whether you want to stay on it or not. And then the third document, what I think is very important, is something called a HIPAA. And as you know, it's very difficult to get doctors and hospitals to release medical records or information on you, and they have to with the proper HIPAA documentation. So I tell all my clients that they should, if they know that they have a primary care doctor, and if they know of a certain hospital that they would probably go to, so in my situation be Cleveland Clinic, which it was, that you should contact them and see if they'll hold a copy of your healthcare surrogate, your living will, and your HIPAA, so that if ever you're in a pinch and you're there and they need to know who to contact, they'll be able to look up your name and be able to pull up the people. So here I am, Steve-O. I'm in so much freaking pain. I got a kidney stone that's backed up, which I've never had before. My kidney levels are jumping through the roof, meaning my kidney's not working properly. It's not good. My creatine levels have skyrocketed. I come strolling into the emergency room in so much pain, 1 to 10, 10 being the worst pain ever. I was a 15. I was like a 15. I couldn't even talk, Steve-O. I was in so much pain. I was screaming. And I basically
It's
told
true
them
what they say about kidney stones.
Oh, it's horrible. And I've had a lot of kidney stones. I've never had one like this where it's backing me up. So it was even worse. I've had a heart attack, Steve-O. This was worse, way worse than a heart attack.
You're too young, bro.
I know. So I'm at the hospital, and they're wanting to ask me questions in the ER. I looked at them right in the eye. I said, "Are you effing kidding me?"
Yeah.
I said, "Get me in the back room. Look up my name. You have my healthcare surrogate and everything in place. My wife's coming in. She parked in the car. Talk to her." And that's what happened. The point is that I was in so much pain I couldn't even talk. And I said, "Just get me in the back." And they rushed me into the back. And then they were able to pull up all my documents. So that's what happened. And that's what proper estate planning does for you. That's number one. But the more important thing is, what the hell happened to me? I ended up having to have emergency surgery that night. And they went up my little privates and they blasted out the kidney stone that was stuck. And then I ended up having, besides having a 6 millimeter kidney stone stuck, I had a 10 millimeter, which is gigantic.
Ooh.
That was in my kidney, and they blasted that out. And then they put a stent in me, which I've never had. So I had a stent in my little private and with a string hanging out, not the funnest thing in the world, for about a week. And then they pulled it out after about a week. And I went to the doctor's office and pulled it out. I thought it was going to be like 2-3 inches, and that would be it. It was about 2 feet long, Steve-O, that came out of me, this wire. And I was like, couldn't believe what was coming out of me, but it came out of me. And then for the next week, I probably peed out about 10 or 12 different little itty bitty stones that they crushed. And I feel great. I'm totally back to normal, thank goodness. But it was an ordeal. But it's a story that I tell in my workshops now. You know, I tell them, I say, "Listen, are you prepared? If something like this happens," I was prepared. And thank goodness everything worked out proper. My wife was able to communicate with the doctors and the staff to make sure things were taken care of, because I was in too much pain to even talk.
And you took care of this prior to. And there's a lot of people who don't.
I did. And here's a crazy thing, Steve-O. We're getting off the topic, but I think people will enjoy it. I'm so tired of getting kidney stones and creating kidney stones. I'm meeting with a nephrologist to figure it out. I've done a 24-hour urine test or analyzing all that. I went for the first time in my life this last Friday, Steve-O, to someone that was highly recommended, an acupuncturist. So I went to an acupuncturist, and they analyzed me, and they stuck some needles in my hands and in my calf muscles and gave me this crazy concoction of natural herbs that I have to drink twice a day for a week. And I have to go see him next Friday, and he's trying to clean out my system so that I won't produce calcium anymore.
Wow.
Is that crazy?
Well, I've got the greatest nephrologist in Coral Springs. I know you're in Weston, but there's a really great practice in Coral Springs, actually right off of University. It's my nephrologist. But Andy, I wanted to share with you, you know what's going on with the condos here in South Florida, and it's
Yeah.
really sad. And we have become a sounding board to a more mature audience. And people are saying, you know what, I should have sat down with an estate planning attorney, but I kept putting it off and putting it off. And now I know that I really need to sit down with somebody, but you know what's going on in condos, we're losing money. They're coming up with all these new fees that none of us can afford. And it's really sad what's happening with the elderly audience here in South Florida.
Yeah, it's very, very unfortunate. Obviously, with what happened a few years ago with that collapse is what's caused
Yes.
all that. I actually knew some people that passed away in that collapse.
Oh
It
my
was
gosh.
yeah, it was horrible, horrible situation. But the problem that people are having with the condo market is that they're in these condos and now they're getting assessed these huge fees because now
Yes.
they're trying to bring it up to speed as far as protection and getting the 40-year analysis done on the buildings, and then they have to upgrade and everything else. And so you got all these people, especially the elderly people that are on fixed incomes and now getting hit with these enormous condo fees that came
Yes.
out of nowhere. And the problem, and
So
what you're seeing,
sad.
at least it's horrible. What you're seeing
A
in the
lot of them
South
are on a
Florida
fixed
market,
income, and they
yeah.
know that they need to sit down with you and talk about long-term care, but they're just getting hit so hard. I wanted to share it because we get a lot of letters like that, and I want to say something else, Andy, because what you do is so important. And I got to tell you, and I'm not afraid to admit this. I'm older than you are, and I had no one to even tell me about Medicare and what I could do at age 65. And I was shocked, and I lost a whole year not knowing. There's so many things that you know. You've got this whole plan when it comes to estate planning, and you just take for granted that people know what they're supposed to do or not supposed to do, and that's not true, is it?
No, no. And listen, I don't know everything. I mean, I know my area obviously very well, but I will tell people that I also know a lot of people when it comes time to getting them to the right people for the Medicare decision making. Once you hit 65 and you have to figure out what you need, what you don't need, what kind of Medigap insurance you need, all that kind of stuff. That's not that's not something I'm going to specialize in, but I have insurance people that's what they do. So there's
But
so
and
many things that are involved with estate planning, and it's not
yes,
necessarily just the estate planning documents. It's everything about estate planning that goes into things.
I mean, even small things about a will or whether to do a trust, and you think that people are knowledgeable about that, but they aren't. I told you my story with uh, guardianship. I mean, we knew nothing about when our daughter hit 18, who's autistic. There's so many things that is so important that someone come in and see you and sit down and you can, I mean, there's so much to learn. People, I don't see how people try to do this themselves.
They do. Oh, and that's a disaster, by the way. When I see things that they've done on their own, the courts hate it. The courts kick it back. The courts kick it out. It's just a mess. It's not worth. It's not worth. What's the old saying? Penny wise, pound foolish to do stuff like that. I always tell people if you're buying a house, you should get a real estate attorney because it's not that often that you're going to do it. Same thing with an estate plan. You need to hire an estate attorney to make sure it's done properly. Steve-O, I like to tell people this also. I know we're getting short on time. We could talk further about this at another
We're back
podcast.
in 2 weeks.
Yeah. But people need to understand that estate planning is not static. It is dynamic. And what do I mean by that? Life happens. Life changes. Things change in your lifetime. You get divorced. You get widowed. You have a grandchild born. You get someone that gets divorced, or you're concerned to get married. You don't like the spouse. You're concerned about leaving money to that person. You need to consistently meet with someone on a consistent basis to review things, because life happens. And I tell that, and I'm in the process of writing a book. I just finished my first draft of the book, and it's called If You Don't Plan, You're Stupid. And that's kind of my motto. And I talk about, part of the book talks about how estate planning is dynamic, not static, and you need to be aware of that. A great example of that, Steve-O, is Gene Hackman. That whole Gene Hackman situation. I know we're running out of time, but Gene Hackman he did a basic will, by the way, which is, I can't believe, but he did a will and left everything to his 30-year-old younger wife 25 years ago. Never looked at it again. And now when he passed away, it's a huge problem with this estate. They're going to have legal battles all over the place with this. Because
the kids are already doing it.
Yeah. You know why? Because he'd never looked at it. He never reviewed it. And he left everything to his wife and never left a contingent beneficiary. And his wife just died before him. So now what happens? It's a mess. So just remember, guys, whoever you work with, you need to meet with on a regular basis. It's important to meet yearly, I think, with a good estate planning attorney.
And this is all you do, Andy. It's just estate planning.
Yes, sir.
Tell people how they can reach you, Andy.
Again, if you guys ever want to contact my office, call us at 954-755-7803, 954-755-7803. Speak to Alejandro or whoever is the one that picks up the phone and schedule a consultation to meet with me. I'm pretty busy, so it may take a few weeks to meet with me, but hopefully it's worth your time.
Andy will be back with us in 2 weeks for another live show on Ask the Experts. Andy, stay well. Take care of yourself.
I'm drinking lots of water.
We need you.
Thanks, buddy.
We'll see you in 2 weeks. That's attorney Andrew Rosenberg, estate planning. That's it for us today. Thank you, Rebel. We'll be back again with you next week with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Experts show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.